Good morning, everyone. Boker Tov. So here's a little thought experiment. If you went into your kitchen and poured yourself a nice hot cup of coffee, and then as you're walking to the kitchen table, you bump into something and spill coffee all over the floor. And I were to ask you, why did coffee spill on the floor? You would say to me, well, because I bumped into something, I knocked into something, and I spilled my coffee. But the correct answer really is that the reason coffee spilled on the floor was because you had coffee in your cup. If you had tea in your cup, tea would have spilled on the floor. And this is a metaphor for life. Every one of us is filled with either virtues, love, kindness, or, unfortunately, hatred, bitterness, anger, and resentment. And when we hit the bumps in life, whatever we're filled with is what will spill out. Two people can react to the same stressful, difficult situations completely different because it's all dependent on what is in your cup. And the word cup in English is a cup, but in Yiddish the word cup is your head. What it really means is what's in your head, what's in your heart. This week's Torah portion talks about the holidays. And the Torah says on the holidays, on the festivals, whether it's Passover or Sukkot and Shavuot, you should invite into your home the widow, the orphan, the poor person, the stranger, the Levite. In other words, the Torah is saying is when you celebrate your holidays, be inclusive, be welcoming of those less fortunate, of those who don't have friends and family. And then the Torah talks about when you harvest your field, you should leave the corners of your field for the poor. And if you drop a bushel of grain, you shouldn't go back to retrieve it, or if you forget something behind, leave it and give it to the poor and the needy. Throughout the Torah portion, it talks about how your personal celebrations and your material blessings should always be interconnected with acts of kindness and generosity. Because if you're a kind person, it will show and be recognized in all of your activities and all of your affairs. On the other hand, the Torah talks about, in this week's Torah portion, the blasphemer, the person who is bitter and angry and resentful and cursed God and had to be sent out of the community and put into confinement because of their negative feelings of hatred and anger and bitterness and resentment. And that's why we have to make sure that our hearts are clean, that our hearts are pure, that our hearts are filled with love and kindness. In this past week's Torah portion, it said, love your neighbor as yourself. And here in South Florida, we've been having a problem with that because there's something, organization called the Goyim Defense League, a neo-Nazi right-wing white supremacist group that came to Florida, and they've been promoting anti-Semitism. They did it here in West Palm Beach with projecting a swastika on the AT&T building and dropping anti-Semitic leaflets on doorsteps in the community. Well, they did it just 2 weeks ago in Daytona at the international racetrack. And by the Daytona 500, where 100,000 people come, they projected these images onto the racetrack. And the sheriff of Volusia County called a press conference, and he put up images of these people, and he says, we know who you are, we're going to expose you, we've had enough of you, you're a bunch of thugs coming into our communities and spreading hatred, and we're coming after you. We're not going to tolerate this. And he took a very hard, strong line by revealing their identities and showing their arrest records, by announcing their arrest records publicly. Well, at that point, these neo-Nazis went crazy. They couldn't believe what the sheriff, whose name is Mike Chitwood, did. And so he started to be harassed on social media. They harassed his daughter. They harassed his father. They even sent SWAT teams to his father's house. And then 3 neo-Nazis made death threats against him. One from Connecticut, one from New Jersey, and one from California. Well, Sheriff Mike Chitwood had these 3 neo-Nazis extradited to Volusia County to stand trial for making death threats against the sheriff. And he went to the airport to welcome them. And he stood at the bottom of the escalator as they came down in handcuffs with FBI agents as they were being transferred to Volusia County. And he introduced them and looked at them in the eye, each one of them, and said, hi, my name is Sheriff Mike Chitwood. Welcome to Volusia County. I hope you enjoy your stay. Now, there are not a lot of Jews in Volusia County, but Sheriff Mike Chitwood stood up and said, our community will not tolerate hatred and racism and bigotry and anti-Semitism. We are going to have a loving community, and we will out these haters and these neo-Nazis and these anti-Semites. And so we reached out to Sheriff Mike Chitwood, and we asked him to come to Palm Beach Synagogue because we want to honor him for his courage and for his bravery and for taking a stand to fight anti-Semitism and stand up for the Jewish community in Volusia County. And thankfully he's accepted. And next Wednesday night, a week from tonight, on the 10th of May, at Palm Beach Synagogue, we have the last of the series of critical conversations. We're welcoming Ambassador Dan Shapiro to talk about expanding the Abraham Accords. But at 6:30, an hour in advance, we're going to have a special reception, and I invite everyone in the community to come out. Go online to Palm Beach Synagogue and sign up for this event. We're going to have a 1-hour reception prior to the event to welcome him, to thank him personally. And then at the event of Critical Conversations, we're going to bestow upon him the Critical Citizen Award for his bravery and for his standing up to fight anti-Semitism. That's a member of the community who loves his neighbors as himself, whether Jewish or not. And that's what the Parsha teaches us. If you have love in your heart, that's what will spill out. That's what will show. But unfortunately, those who have hatred in their heart, that's what is revealed at every step. And they need to be taken on and removed from our communities so we could have loving and united, peaceful communities.